Sahih al-Bukhari 2431. Narrated Anas. The Prophet passed a date fallen on the way and said, "Were I not afraid that it may be from a sadaqah, charitable gifts, I would have eaten it." Sahih al-Bukhari 2432. Narrated Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, "Sometimes when I return home and find a date fallen on my bed, I pick it up in order to eat it, but I fear that it might be from a sadaqah, so I throw it." Sahih al-Bukhari 2433. Narrated Ibn Abbas, R.A. Allah's Messenger also said, "It, i.e., Makkah's thorny bushes should not be uprooted and its game should not be chased, and picking up its fallen things is illegal except by him who makes public announcement about it, and its grass should not be cut." Abbas said, "O Allah's Messenger, except idkir, a kind of grass." The Prophet said, "Except idkir." Sahih al-Bukhari 2434. Narrated Abu Hurairah. When Allah gave victory to his apostle over the people of Mecca, Allah's Messenger stood up among the people and after glorifying Allah, said, "Allah has prohibited fighting in Mecca and has given authority to his apostle and the believers over it, so fighting was illegal for anyone before me, and was made legal for me for a part of a day, and it will not be legal for anyone after me. Its game should not be chased, its thorny bushes should not be uprooted, and picking up its fallen things is not allowed except for one who makes public announcement for it, and he whose relative is murdered has the option either to accept a compensation for it or to retaliate." Al-Abbas said, "Except al-Adkir, for we use it in our graves and houses." Allah's Messenger said, "Except al-Adkir." Abu Shah, a Yemenite, stood up and said, "O Allah's Messenger, get it written for me." Allah's Messenger said, "Write it for Abu Shah." The sub-narrator asked Al-Azai what did he mean by saying, "Get it written, O Allah's Apostle?" He replied, "The speech which he had heard from Allah's Messenger." Sahih al-Bukhari 2435. Narrated Ibn Umar. Allah's Messenger said, "An animal should not be milked without the permission of its owner." Does any of you like that somebody comes to his store and breaks his container and takes away his food? The udders of the animals are the stores of their owners where their provision is kept, so nobody should milk the animals of somebody else, without the permission of its owner. Sahih al-Bukhari 2436. Narrated Zayd bin Khalid al-Yuhani. A man asked Allah's Messenger about the lakata. He said, "Make public announcement of it for 1 year, then remember the description of its container and the string it is tied with, utilize the money, and if its owner comes back after that, give it to him." The people asked, "O Allah's Messenger, what about a lost sheep?" Allah's Messenger said, "Take it, for it is for you, for your brother, or for the wolf." The man asked, "O Allah's Messenger, what about a lost camel?" Allah's Messenger got angry and his cheeks or face became red, and said, "You have no concern with it as it has its feet and its water container, till its owner finds it." Sahih al-Bukhari 2437. Narrated Suwayd bin Ghafala. While I was in the company of Salman bin Rabi'a and Suwan, in one of the holy battles, I found a whip. One of them told me to drop it but I refused to do so and said that I would give it to its owner if I found him, otherwise I would utilize it. On our return we performed Hajj and on passing by Medina, I asked Ubay bin Kabi about it. He said, "I found a bag containing 100 dinars in the lifetime of the Prophet, and took it to the Prophet, who said to me, 'Make public announcement about it for 1 year.' So, I announced it for 1 year and went to the Prophet, who said, 'Announce it publicly for another year.' So, I announced it for another year. I went to him again and he said, 'Announce for another year.' So I announced for still another year. I went to the Prophet for the 4th time, and he said, 'Remember the amount of money, the description of its container and the string it is tied with, and if the owner comes, give it to him, otherwise, utilize it.'" Sahih al-Bukhari 2437b. Narrated Salama. The above narration had at 616 from Ubay bin Kabi, adding, "I met the sub-narrator at Mecca later on, but he did not remember whether Kabi had announced what he had found 1 year or 3 years." Sahih al-Bukhari 2438. Narrated Zayd bin Khalid. A Bedouin asked the Prophet about the lakata. The Prophet said, make public announcement about it for 1 year, and if then somebody comes and describes the container of the lakata and the string it was tied with, give it to him, otherwise, spend it. He then asked the Prophet about a lost camel. The face of the Prophet became red and he said, you have no concern with it, as it has its water reservoir and feet, and it will reach water and drink and eat trees. Leave it till its owner finds it. He then asked the Prophet about a lost sheep. The Prophet said, it is for you, for your brother, or for the wolf. Sahih al-Bukhari 2439. Narrated Abu Bakr. While I was on my way, all of a sudden I saw a shepherd driving his sheep. I asked him whose servant he was. He replied that he was the servant of a man from Quraysh, and then he mentioned his name and I recognized him. I asked, do your sheep have some milk? He replied in the affirmative. I said, are you going to milk for me? He replied in the affirmative. I ordered him and he tied the legs of one of the sheep. Then I told him to clean the udder, teats, of dust and to remove dust off his hands. He removed the dust off his hands by clapping his hands. He then milked a little milk. I put the milk for Allah's Messenger in a pot and closed its mouth with a piece of cloth and poured water over it till it became cold. I took it to the Prophet and said, drink, O Allah's Messenger. He drank it till I was pleased. Sahih al-Bukhari 2440. Narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. Allah's Messenger said, when the believers pass safely over the bridge across hell, they will be stopped at a bridge in between hell and paradise, where they will retaliate upon each other for the injustices done among them in the world, and when they get purified of all their sins, they will be admitted into paradise. By him in whose hands the life of Muhammad is, everybody will recognize his dwelling in paradise better than he recognizes his dwelling in this world.